You like the deep dark, but you want to go into an even deeper into the darker. Well, today I've got a cool mod for you, known as the Deeper and Darker. This mod adds in a whole new dimension to expand the deep dark, giving you far more reasons to even explore it in the first place, but far more cool yet creepy stuff to discover in the new dimension known as the Other Side. This mod is for both Fabric and Forge for 1.19.3, so pick which one you want for that one. But first, there's a few things you may want to prep before you jump into this mod. One of the biggest things to start with here is that you want to make sure that you have a full set of Netherite armor and weapons, because you'll be in for a very hard time without any of this gear. You're also going to want to have suitable food supplies as well as a bunch of building blocks in order to move around, and one of the biggest things that I would definitely recommend is make sure you have an ender chest at all times, just so in case the moment you're gonna die, you can just dump all your stuff in the ender chest and you'll be fine. But then another major item that you'll need here is something known as a Warden helmet. Why do you need this? Well, there's a little issue with the Other Side. It's a very dark dimension, you're barely going to be able to see that much in front of you. The Warden helmet can counteract that. But how do you get that? Well, first you'll need to get a Warden carapace, which is one of the new drops from the Warden. You could also get this to drop from ancient vases, but there's a low drop chance there and you may awaken one of the other new pretty high health mobs, which we'll talk about a little later, as well as you're going to need one of the other items from the Warden anyway, called the Heart of the Deep, for something later. So you may as well just go for a Warden kill in the first place, and if you can't do that just yet in the game, you're not really going to want to explore the Other Side too much. Anyway, once you have your carapace, you'll need to throw it into a crafting table with 4 phantom membranes and 4 echo shards. You know, phantom membranes from phantoms and echo shards can be found around ancient cities. Creating yourself a reinforced echo shard. You can then just take this item, smash it onto a netherite helmet in the smithing table, and there you have a Warden helmet. You can also do this with various other netherite tools if you really feel like pumping up your power a lot, because it will give you more armor, more damage resistance, it will improve the amount of damage that you output, the strength of your tools, and etc, etc. Also, the pants will give you a permanent speed 1 boost. None of the other tools really have any noticeable effects that I could gather, but your pants will give you a little bit of a speed boost. There may be more effects that will be coming in the future for this mod as it continues to get developed, but for now, there barely is any. Once you've got yourself prepared, it is finally time to approach going to the new dimension. Now, one of the first things you want to do is make sure to clear any of the Sculk veins from the inner frame. You know, that big massive frame you can find in ancient cities. You want to clear off any of the Sculk on the inside, otherwise you can't light it. And then grab that Heart of the Deep from the Warden earlier, the other new item, and then light the portal. Finally, you can cross over to the Other Side. Once you make it into the Other Side, the first thing that you should do, and I do recommend you do this, mark down where your portal is. Whether it be via taking the coordinates of it, whether it be using having the waystone mod and putting a waystone at your portal, or using your map to mark down a waypoint to the portal, do something to mark the location of that portal, because aside from dying, that is your only way back out of this dimension. Make sure you keep that in mind. So now that we finally made it to the Other Side, let's explore what biomes that we have to offer. The Other Side's got multiple different biomes, just like any other dimension. There are 3 different biomes that can generate at this point in time as of update 1.1.0, so that can change over the next little while, so it may not be 100% accurate. First off, you've got the Other Side deep lands. The deep lands are kind of just like your Never Waste. They've just made up mostly of Sculk, some Sculk stone at the bottom, and it's just got large groups of phantoms flying around with hordes of Sculk snappers, Sculk jaws, and infested Sculk. You're probably 100% confused on what the hell those last 3 mobs were. We'll get to that, as well as there's stuff like Sculk Gleam is just sitting up at the top of these like areas that are lighting up the place. But other than that, it's a pretty dark zone and it's just your Never Waste. Lots of mobs, very annoying to get through, nothing much happening in there. Your next biome that you'll come across is a biome called the Echoing Forest. This is a biome that often generates in layers consisting of Sculk, Sculk stone, and then Echo soil. Echo trees populate the biome, making the Other Side more vibrant with their purple leaves and the Sculk Gleam built inside of them, kind of similar to like those forest biomes you'll find in the Nether. Like it's kind of similar to that vein, just it's a lot less dense in comparison, but it's still very beautiful. Only mobs that will spawn here are the Shattered, which is pretty nice in comparison to the rest of the other biomes, though be very aware you can still summon Wardens when you're breaking blocks, so good thing to keep in mind. Third biome you'll come across is called the Overcast Columns. It's composed of multiple amber columns which have biome exclusive crystallized amber blocks in each of them. They've also got multiple geysers scattered throughout the terrain, which can allow you to give a nice jump jump boost you, like propelling you up into the sky to higher places. With a quick side note with these geezers, when you do use them to jump up, they'll give you slow falling too for roughly enough time to fall right back down to the same level the geezer was at. And if you use a shovel to break these, you can pick these up and take these to the overworld. Use these and create your own creations, potentially creating fun parks and other things along those lines. These could be some really awesome pieces you take back home with you in order to make some really awesome stuff. Now, throughout the Sculkstone areas of this dimension, you can come across the Sculkstone variants of all overworld ores that will be generated in the other side. These ores will drop twice the amount of resources and XP that they do in their normal overworld form. So if you do come across any form of ore types, especially if it's something that you need like iron or some diamonds or some gold or redstone, you can get a lot more value out of these ore pieces, and they also just look really awesome. Now at this point in time, there is only one generated structure that you can come across inside of the other side, and these are known as the Ancient Temples. These generate in the other side deep lands. The Ancient Temple consists of various different deep slate and sculk blocks, and the temple has 3 individual levels: an entrance level, a top level, and a bottom level. The bottom level is the hidden level that can be accessed by breaking through the 2x2 area of water in the center of the entrance level. Each level generates multiple ancient vases and chests full of enchanted books, diamond gear, echo shards, and a lot of other valuable loot. Though the biggest thing is the treasure that you'll find in the bottom level of the Ancient Temple, because the bottom level is littered with Sculkstone, diamond ore, and various other treasures. There are 2 cave shells on either side of the bottom level. Inside them you can find stuff like skeleton skulls, but in one of them you can find a chest that contains cobwebs and the extremely rare Sculk Transmitter. Now, what is the Sculk Transmitter? The Sculk Transmitter is a very useful item that allows you to wirelessly access a chosen chest that you've linked with the Sculk Transmitter. This does not function through dimensions though, as if you do go to another dimension and then attempt to use the transmitter, it will break the connection. You will no longer be able to access the chest. The same prompt will pop up whenever you try to access the chest using the Sculk Transmitter when you're like thousands of blocks away from the linked chest, but it still lets you get in the chest. I don't know if that's a bug, whether that being like you're not meant to be able to access that chest when you're thousands of blocks away, or whether the prompt popping up for saying the linked chest is missing or obstructed shouldn't be popping up at that far away. I don't know, it's one of those things, but it basically is very useful because let's say you're trying to build a massive building and you run out of resources. No need to go back to the bottom of your build to go to wherever you put all your resources. Just use the Sculk Transmitter. Access your double-sized chest from up there, collect your resources and put it all back and do whatever you need to do without having to worry about going back to the chest. It is super useful. Now for the fun part of this all, the mobs. One of the first ones you'll come across aside from the typical warden, you know, unless you encounter a fun one in the overworld with the vases, is a thing called the Shattered. Now this is effectively like your zombie piglin / husk / zombie of the other worms. These are like little roaming creatures that will attempt to try and attack you, and when you kill them you'll get yourself some Sculk dust. The next one you'll come across is a thing called the Sculk Centipede. These little creepy little things can be found in the other lands, and when you kill them they'll drop Sculk bones. Next you have the Sculk Snapper, which when tamed with a Neverite enchanted piece of chest plate, you can have a little pet that will give you enchanted books on a random occasion, or that's what they're supposed to do. From my attempts to recreate this, all I've had is the game crash on me on multiple occasions when just leaving it, so I would probably not really worry about these creatures for the time being. There's also Sculk Leeches, which are effectively just silverfish but in Sculk. They got 2 health, they do absolutely nothing to you damage wise, they drop effectively nothing. They do give you some EXP, but ultimately they're not worth even acknowledging, just get rid of them really. If you come across infected Sculk on the surface of your various different biomes you're going to be exploring, it will fling you a little bit and then a Sheikah worm will pop out of it. These guys have over 500 health and they're literally just there to be a bit of an annoyance. They do not drop EXP, they do not give you any items, it'll literally just move on. They're gonna hurt, move on, they're not worth your time because again they got 500 hit points. And then there's the Stalker. The Stalker is a mob that might spawn with a very low percentage chance whenever you break a vase. These are effectively boss-like mobs that have about 250 health, and they'll spawn those Sculk Leeches around him when he's walking around. Of course, this is going to be someone you want to defeat, as you'll get yourself a nice and beautiful soul crystal, which is very useful in a certain recipe that I'm about to talk about. There is one major reward that comes with conquering this dimension, aside from the various different treasures treasures and valuables that you can discover, and that is the Soul Elytra. The Soul Elytra can be crafted using an Elytra, Soul Crystal, 3 Sculk Dust, and 4 Sculk Bones. These are, of course, most of these items are only ever found inside of the Sculk dimension or the other side, or aside from the Stalker. You can get the Soul Crystal from a Stalker in the Ancient City if you so choose to fight one there, but this is a beautiful, beautiful reward, as this is an Elytra that will automatically propel itself at random intervals. Honestly, it's semi-consistent enough that you don't have to worry about fireworks anywhere near as much. I'd still recommend having them there, as, you know, you never know when you're going to need some quick movement, but it's like you don't need to rely on fireworks to maneuver around when you get the Soul Elytra. Overall, Deeper and Darker is a beautifully amazing mod that adds a huge new expansion to the Deep Dark that makes it far more rewarding to even go there in the first place, because personally speaking, there's not really too much of a point going there in the first place, because the Warden's just a very big painful thing in most times, and the rewards from the Warden itself aren't too massive. The rewards there are some very useful items in amongst there, but nothing massive. But this expands it drastically, allowing you to work your way up to probably by far the most useful item for the end game, the Soul Elytra. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit the like button down below, and hey, if you do enjoy these informative mod explanation videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button and check out this mod on screen now. But until next time, bye bye!